but eye-opening to experience some real shit that was out of left field.
Yeah.
That shit was out of left field. Well, from Will Smith, it was out of right field.
Yeah, it was right.
From Chris Rock, it was out of left field.
Way out. Way out.
Yeah, so okay, I guess we'll do it. We'll hop into the clickbait.
All right, well, yeah, indulge.
What did you think about the Will Smith situation?
I found it completely bizarre. Honestly, from like, at first I thought it was staged.
Same.
Because like, I mean, since when has actors ever like gone fisticuffs at the Oscars?
At what point did you know it was real?
The next day, I guess, really? Or I guess, I mean, I didn't really watch it all the way through and hear like Will Smith's like apology till the next day when I indulged on social media and got all the clips and jokes and everything. I mean, Chris Rock, like, it surprised me he didn't swing back, or there was no security that came up. It was just, that was the bizarre part. Like, if it was real, you know, any other concert, celebrity or not, someone runs up the stage and swings. Like, how's this guy going to get allowed to, I don't care if it's Will Smith or not. Just walks back to the seat.
Right.
And the joke itself wasn't, I mean, a lot more controversial things have been said about people. And I think even you could see Will laughing initially, and it's like Jada had an issue with it.
First of all, they're not even sitting next to each other.
They have an open relationship. Like, that's been the joke forever. Like,
the relationship is as open as the space between their chairs and when they're sitting there.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't have other dates with each other.
Literally. Right.
So, like, to see him, like, you know, change his tune from a laughing G.I. Jane joke to keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
That's when I knew it was real.
Right. You could see his quivering lip.
You could see his actual
primal,
like heightened primal sense at that moment, and you could see how legit how much volatile emotion was in his like response after he sat down. That's when I was like, damn.
But then, I mean, you ever seen The Pursuit of Happiness, dog? I mean, he kills it and he cries. Really? I mean, that dude sells that. He could sell you anything. I don't know.
But the slap.
But the slap, I mean, the slap, that's what.
Well, how about this? Chris Rock's response, honestly, when he went,
yeah.
Well, craziest night in
there you guys go.
That professionalism also, and how he was acting afterwards, kind of just like still in shock, also kind of solidified to me the realness of it, the authenticity of it. But at the end of the day, this is something I was talking to one of my clients today about, because my boy Jazz, we talk a lot about, like, he understands how I don't belong to team black or team white, because I'm too black for the whites and too white for the blacks, right? Like, straight up.
Right.
But I intimately empathize and understand the woes of the black community through my own experiences, let alone through specific rationalities I can make from not only my ancestors' experiences, but from what I can still see nowadays. Though racism and discrimination is nowhere near as rampant nowadays than our ancestors had to experience, which is what people have to understand fundamentally.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I was talking to Jazz about is, it's funny, his name's Jazz, DJ Jazzy Jeff, right?
Get jiggy with it.
Right. Nah. My boy Jazz, we were talking, I kind of just want to my boy Jazz now. Like, I want that to be our handshake.
Yeah.
We were talking about how, I made a comment how ironic of a microcosm that entire scene was for the entire woes of the black community, especially what's going on in places like downtown Chicago, where this honor culture of, oh, you dissed me, so I'm going to respond with violence.
Murder, shooting, yeah.
And what Will Smith did was a microcosm of what people experience every day in honor cultures, especially the black community, where it's, oh, you dissed me and my people, so I'm going to retaliate with violence. Though whether it's a slap or a whole gunshot left open into a crib, is like, it's the fundamental structure of, you dissed me, so I'm going to retaliate with violence.
Mm-hmm.
You said words, so I'm going to give action.
Exactly. It's not an equal reaction.
It's not an equal and not an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
Because it's not words you're saying back, it's action, it's actual actionable actions.
Correct.
Or slapping him. What I don't like is how Will, again, it's hilarious because, like, Jada's a street girl, was dating Tupac and all this shit, and then Will ends up dating her for the street cred and all this shit. So when she actually feels some type of street way about it, Will then has to adopt her same sort of mindset on it, like, where he was otherwise laughing at first. Now he's having to adopt
reaction,
his natural versus his adopted reaction. He's now having to go up there and do what? Display actions and characteristics no different than the very problems that plague the black community in the 21st century.
Sure. And that plagued most poverty communities in the last 100 years. I mean, any immigrants.
But it goes back to what we talked about it's not necessarily the black community, it's impoverished communities.
Exactly. And it's right now, that's where, there's still more white poverty number because there's more white people. Right. But I mean,
you can go into the rural South, you can go into rural Alabama and see white motherfuckers acting which is the cracker culture, redneck culture, acting the exact ways as black in the inner cities.
If not worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's stories about northern Massachusetts, just northerners from Massachusetts and New York, when they're commenting on why they won't hire certain people from the South. And when you hear the vernacular used and the reasons in which they won't hire those Southerners, those Southern white people, is because they carry the same characteristics that you would say people would ascribe to blacks nowadays. What's hilarious is even down to the actual vernacular, even down to the actual jargon and the words used. For example, a rural white man, a redneck in the South in the 1800s, instead of using a word like ask, will literally say axe.
Axe, yeah.
Instead of saying the N-word with the hard rhotic ER at the end, they say it with the non-rhotic AH at the end. No different than who? British people. Because when they say water,
yeah.
Fire,
yeah.
Nigga.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? That's why
that's the same exact vernacular, yeah.
That's why Southern slave owners didn't call them hard ERs. That's why people in Boston and the East Coast don't have ERs at the end of a lot of their words.
Yeah.
The haba.
Cocky. Give me the cockies. Yeah.
Wada. All that stuff is because there's a non-rhotic nature to the language that's ancestrally reminiscent of how the British talked when they came over here in the first place.
It's crazy. And it was like, those were high-class British at the time when those ideals were the high class of British, but then they
literally
got,
but it got watered down to where
only this poor Southern
started. Only this poor Southern. Well, really, what it was the high class people from there came over here and became the low class.
Right.
And then as the low class people here, they created that, let's just say, low class redneck culture, which was established for decades until the Emancipation Proclamation, which once slaves were free, they adopted what culture?
The only one they knew.
Exactly, that impoverished redneck culture. And what's hilarious is if you look at lynchings and if you look at, think about it. A slave owner isn't going to want their slave lynched because that's money they're losing.
Yeah.
So what's ironic is lynchings, for the most part, until the Emancipation Proclamation, were mostly done to whites as especially redneck whites, as a mode of discriminating, or as a mode of not technically discriminating against them being rednecks, but as a mode of discipline and rule of law.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's like a punishment for breaking rules.
Literally.
Right.
So lynching as a racial discriminatory act wasn't even a thing
until Freeman, until they were free. Yeah.
Literally until the post-Emancipation Proclamation.
Because now if we don't own you, then we can. I mean, we don't have.
Yeah, now value. You don't have value to us, right? Because if they own you, they're not going to let just some random motherfucker lynch you because that's money they're losing.
Yeah.
Where do you think the burning cross came from?
Ancient. I mean,
it came from ancient Scottish motherfuckers. What they would do when they would talk.
Then they dress similar too and everything.
The KKK, like dressing of the hood and all that shit. It's a long
goes to
story.
Catholic. There's a lot of parallels.
There's a lot of influences to that. But I just want to talk about the specific burning of the cross. It's like, it's not that they would put it on. They would specifically discriminate against blacks putting burning crosses on their lawns and shit. It was an act that the ancient Celtic Scottish motherfuckers did when they would talk shit to their enemy. They'd pretty much be like, "Oh, fuck your enemy! I'm gonna lay this burning cross on your fucking property because fuck you, mate." Yeah. Like that's what they did, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a ancient Scottish thing, just like the redneck culture is like an ancient, technically Scottish but just Northern British thing.
Yeah.
And it isn't until centuries go by when they migrate over here, when they emigrate over here, and then they finally establish the culture here. And then it's established for centuries where it then gets adopted as an impoverished culture. And then once the Emancipation Proclamation happens, it's then adopted by those who are impoverished, which are those new emancipated slaves.
It's systematic, and there it is.
So the Will Smith shit, what's funny is we talked about it on some clickbait shit, but we end up getting on some deep shit.
Of course.
Is the Will Smith whole situation makes the black community look, is very reminiscent and very a mirror being held up in terms of the disgrace it gives the black community, no different than the black on black crime killings that happens every single day.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to speak on like, the problems of the black community per se, because I don't have personal experience with that. However, I could speak for most people saying like, I mean, no one wants to see Will Smith smack Chris Rock. I mean, like,
no one wants to see any man smack another man.
Well, there's times deserving of smacks, but that wasn't one of them. And those two guys, those are two, like, they bring back all the funniest, nostalgic, good memories of our childhoods, and to see like behavior like that out of them at their oldest and was supposed to be their most wise points of their lives, to act most childish. Exactly.
To act the most childish.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's a testament to something.
It's a testament to, I think, the sociopathy and shit we've been talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Will Smith is so caught up in
the image he's
trying to portray, when deep down, bro, it's like you reap what you sow, motherfucker. You married who you married. You allowed that red table talk shit to happen. You allowed her to fuck August. You allowed her to be this open marriage hoe shit. And now you're trying to come to her as if you're going to defend your marriage on some honorable shit.
Yeah.
What honor is there in you getting emasculated the way you got emasculated? And now we're trying to defend her on the weakest grounds to defend her.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it ends up doing way worse than what it was trying to do.
To such a degree where me and my homie talk about it, Jazz. It's funny his name's Jazz. Me and my homie Jazz talk about how it just makes the black community look so foolish. And it's a microcosm of what foolishness we experience every day through the lingering residual ghettoization and bullshit that still plagues our communities in the inner city.
Absolutely.
This honor culture bullshit that, guess what? Me being mixed, every time I went and hooped in the city, I was called white boy and let's guard that white boy. And I was never good enough because I wasn't black enough, right? But when I went into fucking highfalutin AAU tournaments in Blue Springs and shit.
You're the ghetto one.
I'm the ghetto one. I'm the black kid who has handles and shit, right?
Right.
So it's like, at the end of the day, the discrimination is least of our worries, and it's more about the culture that surrounds the discrimination.
For sure.
And at least we're starting to get there just with the democratization of knowledge that we've been talking about, that everybody can experience everybody's culture near instantly with the internet, but we still have some time through experience.
Correct. And there's still, like, there's a balance to the way of using that democratization of information the right way to make that better. And
100%.
then the way it's being used to manipulate people into getting further into ignorance as well.
Like the clickbaity Will Smith shit.
Clickbaiting rap beefs and shooting and gang wars, and like they just glorify it, and then they start, so that's all definitely, I could see how that's a microcosm of all that.
It's sad, man. But eye-opening to experience some real shit that was out of left field.
Yeah.
That shit was out of left field. Well, from Will Smith, it was out of right field.
Yeah, it was
right. From Chris Rock, it was out of left field.
Way out.